Hey everybody, welcome back to Simply Shemane. I had to say that slower because sometimes it gets muddled together, but it's Simply Shemane. And the reason we call it that is because there's so many different things that encompass my life, and I'm sure your life as well. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, I'm a fitness enthusiast, and I really want to make a difference in the world. And this show today is doing just that because I can't wait to share what happened with Ray and Jessica Higdon. They are owners of an incredible business, and they just made the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies. And just by watching one of the Simply Shemane shows where we had a guest, Eros Mackey from adaptiveops.org, they happened to watch that show when I was interviewing Eros, and what happened as a result is absolutely astonishing. I wish you could see the goosebumps. It's unbelievable. So stick around. You're not going to want to miss that. And also, we've got Paulina Luna, who is running for Congress in the state of Florida, and she is a powerhouse. She, too, also has a heart for helping human trafficking victims, and she'll tell you all about that. But first, I want to talk to you about our sponsors, Ruff Greens, Patriot Mobile, and Senior Care of Michigan. You know, guys, this show wouldn't be possible. And what is happening in this show, it's been my dream to be able to be a great connector and to provide you with information that is current. We do a little bit of current events. We do some healthy lifestyles. I've interviewed a lot of different doctors and guests that can help you be healthier and happier, but we always end with something to make you smile. And our sponsor, Ruff Greens, you know, if you're a dog owner, if you're a pet owner, and you care about your pets, which if you're a dog owner, you do, we want them to live as long as they can, and we want them to have the best quality of life as they can. But, you know, if you're just feeding them dry dog food that's been on the shelf for months or even years, is that the best that you can provide them with? So Ruff Greens can give your dog an opportunity to have greater energy and health and vitality and live longer just by sprinkling a little bit of Ruff Greens in their food and mixing it up. It can make a huge difference. I've heard from people who have tried it for the first time, and I've shared it with family and friends who want to give it to their dogs, and they say the difference is amazing. I wasn't. My dogs were. They tried Ruff Greens before Ruff Greens became a sponsor of this show, and I'm so happy that they did. I'm so happy that we were able to make that connection. So check out Ruff Greens. Now, Patriot Mobile is another thing that, you know, if you're watching this show, you know that I'm a conservative, you know that I'm a Christian conservative, and I want to support businesses who are aligned with my conservative values. And if you didn't know about it already, if you have a wireless phone, which you probably do you know where your dollars, when you pay for your cell phone bill, you know, that cell phone company, they invest it in other organizations like Planned Parenthood. And if you're not okay with that, I encourage you to check out Patriot Mobile, because they invest their dollars into businesses that have conservative values like mine and yours. So check out Patriot Mobile. And also Senior Care of Michigan. You know, my parents are getting older. They're both in Michigan, actually. And I worry about them. And if you have parents who are in their 80s or older, you worry about them too. And we worry about them being taken advantage of by scams. And that happened to my mother, actually. And if I would have known about Senior Care of Michigan earlier, I would have been able to help her prevent herself from getting involved in that scam. So prevent your parents from getting involved in financial scams and help them keep the money that they have so that they live a long and happy life. So check out Senior Care of Michigan. They can work with you no matter what state you're in. All right, guys. Stay tuned because we've got an amazing show for you. And don't forget to watch the end because we always end with something to make you smile.
Simply Shemane is powered by Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless service provider.
Welcome back to Simply Shemane. My first guest is an amazing, empowered woman. She served in the Air Force, and she is now running for Congress in the state of Florida. Anna Paulina Luna. Thank you so much for joining me, Anna.
Thank you for having me on.
I'm so excited to finally get to know you and speak with you here. I am so inspired by what your mission is and how you want to change the world. Can you describe what your platform is?
So I'm really, really big on veterans issues and ending government corruption, but something that I've always been passionate about and something that I plan on continuing once I went on November 3rd is really helping to fight human trafficking. And that is an issue that unfortunately right now, because the president is talking about it, the media has made it a partisan issue, and it should not be. So that's actually really the reason why I got politically involved, and it's something that we should all be discussing on a regular basis.
Absolutely. I knew that it existed, but just recently, just in 2020, in January, I found out how prevalent it was. And I've done several shows just on human trafficking and on operations that rescue survivors, and then places that take in the survivors and help them gain the skills necessary for getting back into society. How have you gotten involved?
So it started, I would have to say, during my time when I was right before I got out of the military. I had a gap year, and ultimately I was using my social media to really shed light on, at the time, veterans issues. My husband in 2014 was shot in Afghanistan. And at that point in time, I really saw that the military was trying, but in general, there was just this lack of support for the military community. And people looked at things like post-traumatic stress disorder or things that the families went through. They just didn't talk about it. And so I wanted to normalize that discussion, because we saw personally, and even with my husband, there were so many people struggling with it. One of the organizations I came across was called Veterans for Child Rescue. So I remember I reached out to this organization. This was probably around the end of 2015. I connected with the founder, and at the time they were working on a documentary that Netflix was supposed to show on Netflix about human trafficking at the border with children. Now, it's ironic because at the time I wasn't politically involved. So for the life of me, I did not understand why Netflix went to cancel the documentary. Now I know that it was because we were gearing up for the November 2016 election. And at the time, candidate Trump was talking about how there was an issue in the need for border security. Of course, Netflix isn't going to want to make that known, because that really does debunk a lot of what the Democrats say for why we should have open borders, right? So I started following this organization, and I started talking to them, doing research and sharing their information. And I was blown away. I mean, for someone like myself, I thought that I had a pretty good idea of what happens, in the lower income. I mean, even in some like the darker aspects of society. I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood where there was gang shootings. I was involved in an armed robbery when I was younger. I mean, so much stuff I had experienced, but nothing ever really prepared me to see what was happening with the trafficking aspect. And I remember reading about this woman named Carla Jacinto, and she was a trafficking survivor that was rescued. She was raped in the time that she was held captive 44,000 times. And I remember when I posted about this, people on my social media were saying, she's lying, she's making that up, that's not possible. And I realized how much people were just unaware as to what happens with these trafficking victims. And then to find that it's big with children, one, was horrifying, but then also two, I realized, I needed to start speaking up on this, especially as someone who is half Hispanic. And it did tie into the border issue. So when I started speaking on it, people did not want to be my friend. They thought that I was just, supporting the president. Well, I do support the president, and the president has been one of the only presidents in U.S. history to really focus on this, to the point of where even AG Barr and Ivanka Trump just recently announced that they are putting $100 million towards supporting organizations and dealing with counter trafficking. And so I do tell people this. I mean, that's my number one argument for why I support the president. And I believe in that. And it's something that I hope to help with in Washington, D.C. for permanent legislation to ensure that we are not the top 3 country in the world for consumption of this. It's awful.
It's unbelievable. Well, if there's ever anything that I can do to help and to, if you ever want to bring more light, please let me know. It's just, it blew my mind when I first discovered how prevalent it is here in the United States. People don't realize that it can happen in their own hometowns, right under their noses, and what's going on and how they're kidnapping and abducting people is just, it's unbelievable to me. And to think that I've spoken to a survivor herself, and it's obviously very difficult for them to be able to function in the world again and try to, leave the past behind them. How would you recommend, I look at you, you're an empowered woman. You entered the Air Force at 19?
Yeah.
What made you want to get involved like that and to become so strong and powerful and a voice for women?
I think what it was is ultimately the reason why I joined the military is I was from that generation that saw what happened on 9/11, and I always wanted to give back to my country. But also too, I wanted to go to school, and I didn't know how to apply to college. I had no way of paying for school. And I remember I was actually at a house party and I was listening to these two young guys talk, and they said, oh yeah, I start classes on Monday. So of course I was like, so how are you doing that? I really did. I went to 6 high schools. So there was really, college for me was not something that I ever thought that I would be able to go do. And they said, well, we're in the Marines. And so I said, well, what's a Marine? And ultimately I ended up going to talk to a recruiter. And I enlisted without telling my family, and I joined. But I think that for what, what society has as a standard for women, and what Hollywood really portrays women as, they don't want to show that you can be a strong woman and not hate men in the process. And, for someone like myself, the reason why I have been enabled to use my voice is I have a very supportive husband, and I believe that it's the right thing to do. And I think that it's so great when you do have stronger women that are kind of being the trailblazers, especially in these arenas, right? Like, no one wants to really talk about child sex trafficking. No one really wants to talk about the fact that I think we do need to use our voices to talk on the whole issue of pro-life versus pro-choice. And I found that through my life experiences, although I was never raised conservative or raised Republican, for my life experiences, it showed me what happens when you grow up within the system, which is something that really we find progressives pushing onto the minority demographic. And I will say this, going back to the trafficking aspect, I was not political. But when I realized that there were Democrats that, prior to 2016 had the exact same standpoint on immigration and border security because of the trafficking, because of the drug running that Republicans did, and then to see them all of a sudden just switch and then use propaganda to try to target what I found was the largest voting minority in 2020, which is Hispanic Americans, specifically those of Mexican descent, I realized it kind of just hit me where I had that moment of clarity. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to say something. And it's kind of interesting when you start to speak the truth, the ripple effect that it has. And I have now, I guess, become one of the more prominent conservative Hispanic voices in the country, all because simply I decided that I would speak the truth. And I think that it's important for young women, especially because politics is a male-dominated arena. And when you have young women that are smart, that are not part of the Hollywood, mental cult complex, which is really what it is, of liberal groupthink, I think that makes a difference. And so I've been happy to announce that, I have a ton of volunteers. A lot of them are young women in high school and in college that are really looking to me and looking to people like me for the future generation of the political arena.
What would you say to women who are looking at you as a role model and are thinking about getting into politics, but there is another side of this, that they will tear you down, they will try to destroy you? How can you encourage good people, good women? How can you encourage them to get involved in politics?
I think it's like this, and it's kind of funny because politics is bad, but I think that if you've been a young girl in high school, that you've probably seen worse, right? And so we know that sometimes young women can be really mean to each other. But what I say is that if you're honest, if you are just an honest person, no one is perfect. I'm definitely not, but I own everything about myself. So really they can't use anything against me. Like, when you're owning who you are, there's really not a lot that they can do. And they're going to try to smear you regardless. Yeah. But ultimately, the truth always comes out. And the one thing that's been a game changer with, I think, our politics in general has been the whole concept of your cell phone, right? Like, we can go to social media, we can do all of these things. One thing I never thought that I would end up picking up the torch on is this whole aspect of taking on big tech. And because I announced my run, I found that I was being censored by Twitter. And actually last week, before the Hunter Biden censorship took place on Twitter, I actually about an hour prior had filed with my team an FEC complaint. So that means we are complaining to the Federal Elections Commission on election interference by Twitter. And ultimately the RNC a day later ended up doing almost an exact same filing. And we do know that in the next 50 something days, we will be in a federal court. And what we're hearing is that we will be at the Supreme Court eventually. And what we're finding is, your generation, my generation, we have social media, but when election guideline was written, it was actually written to only cover digital, radio, and radio, television, and print media. It doesn't cover digital or social media. So we are actually changing the ways elections are run in the future. And it is our responsibility to ensure that the sanctity of the election process is kept. So that's something that we're doing in addition to the campaign. And it's something that we're going to be continuing to fight once we get to Washington, D.C.
Well, I hope you get in there because we need some changes and we need it fast. So thank you so much for being such a brilliant voice and a shining light. God bless you and good luck.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back. Don't go away. What makes Patriot Mobile so different is their drive to support conservative and Christian values.
They support organizations fighting for religious freedom, First and Second Amendment rights, sanctity of life, and the needs of our great veterans and first responders.
It's America's only Christian conservative wireless service provider.
There's a great promotion going on right now. Call now to get their Stand Up for Freedom promotion.
And it's a limited time, just now through November 7th. And all you have to do is call for more details. You can find out all about it. And you know what, Ted? It's easy to switch, even for you.
I'll believe that when I see it.
You can do it.
I trust Patriot Mobile.
You can get the same reliable nationwide service. And you can keep your phone. You can bring your own phone.
Or buy a new one.
Or you can get a new one. And you can also get a free Premier activation and free gift.
Call now, 972-PATRIOT or patriotmobile.com/Shemane.
And the promo code is
STAND.
Support a company that shares your morals and values. Faith, family,
country, freedom, law and order, Patriot Mobile.
My true passion here at Senior Care Michigan is helping clients organize their financial plans so they can make it through retirement years, making life a lot easier on them.
We do make sure that your assets are going to be protected at Senior Care Michigan.
It was my calling to help a lot of families, retirees, straighten out difficult problems.
Let us help you achieve the retirement that you deserve. Call us today to get started at 810-658-6722 or visit us online at scmichigan.com.
My next guest is part of a duo that has an incredible story I can't wait for you to hear. Jessica Higdon and her husband Ray own an amazing company that train people how to build their business through social media, and they recently made the Inc. 5000 list. Jessica Higdon, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Shemane, for having me on. And sorry my husband couldn't be on, but I'm glad I could be here and just appreciate you so much and everything you do.
Well, I'm so glad that we connected. We've been friends for a few years, and you happened to see one of my shows that I discussed human trafficking, and we had Eros Mackey on talking about his organization called Adaptive Ops. Tell me what happened after that.
It was divine intervention, that's for sure, because I was just scrolling through my Instagram feed. I saw your show, which I love and I watch often. And I really didn't have a lot of time that day to watch much of anything, but just something about the description you put in that interview. I'm like, I've got to watch this guy. So I started watching your interview with Eros on everything going on, and it really brought light to the severity and the seriousness of human trafficking and how evil it truly is. And it just so happens, again, that's why I say divine intervention. I don't believe in coincidence. It just so happens that we were hosting a big event, a virtual event, the following couple weeks after that. And we were looking for a charity to support and someone to help raise awareness around that exact topic and that exact organization. And so when Eros was talking about it, I thought, this might be a great person to reach out to and just hear what they're doing and how they're doing it. I loved that he was actually in the field rescuing these children. That is very few and far between from what we've seen and researched, is an actual organization that goes into the field and rescues kids. So we ended up hosting an event and raising money for them. And it was just incredible. Eros flew out to our virtual studio. He didn't have to do that. He flew himself out to be there to talk about, his passion, which is rescuing these kids and reuniting families. So we did a really amazing event, and it was a great opportunity to raise some money for them.
Well, Eros texted me on Friday of the week that you did this event, and he said, we just raised $50,000. And he was all excited. I'm excited. I got goosebumps right now. I mean, I just feel so incredible to be a conduit, I guess, for helping his organization and ultimately helping to save human trafficking victims and turn them into survivors. But then you texted me on Sunday, a few days later, and what did you tell me?
We actually were able to raise $100,000 for Adaptive Ops. So it blew me away. I didn't know what to expect from virtual, and talking about an organization, because usually we run in-person events, which you can't now. And it was amazing, the response, just how many people are now aware of human trafficking and what's going on, and how many are passionate about stopping it, will make a huge difference. And he said something incredible, Eros did. He said, $1 towards Adaptive Ops is like $30 in education, meaning that the more that we can get this out there and the more awareness we bring, the more that these traffickers can't do what they do. Awareness is so important because they like to stay behind the shadows, right? So it was a great day for everybody involved. And one of our donors, she gave $10,000. I have to give her a shout out. She gave $10,000 on her own, Angel Fletcher. She's an incredible human being. She was in the hospital while she was donating this money and going through surgery herself. And he's going to name his next mission in her honor, which is really cool. So,
oh my gosh, that just, it brings so much joy to my life, knowing that something that I've done has had a ripple effect and is going to be such a huge awakening for so many people. Jessica, tell us a little bit about your business and what you and Ray do.
Yeah, so we have a coaching, training, and consulting company. We teach anybody, doesn't matter if you're a home business owner or an entrepreneur, if you want to make more sales on social media, we train you how to do that. Basically, translate your message or your problem that you're solving from the traditional way of building a business to online and social media sales. So we've been doing that for the past 10 years now. And since the pandemic hit, it's been crazy because so many people are realizing how important this online world we live in and this digital age really is. So we're very blessed to be in the industry that we're in. And we train a lot of network marketers, a lot of home business owners, and just like I said, anybody who wants to learn how to make money online.
And you just made the Inc. 5000.
Yes, we did. We made Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies list. So we're very honored and blessed for that, for sure.
Well, that's awesome. And so you've got a new book coming. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we just partnered with Hay House, which I'm like, pinch me. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. We partnered with Hay House. They're our publisher, and we're coming out with a book called Time, Money, Freedom. This book really highlights how you can come from any background, have zero capital, zero special skill sets, zero advantage in your circumstance and create any type of life that you want, just like we did. So it goes through our story and how you can take, like I mentioned before, a problem that you want to solve, or take an idea that you have and translate it into something monetarily so that you can control your own economy, your own future, and live the life of your dreams, whatever that means. For some people, that means, a $10 million mansion on the beach. And for some, that means, hey, I just want to have mom care, not daycare. And so it's time, money, freedom. If you have any interest in that whatsoever, you can go to higdongroup.com/bonuses. And we're giving away some cool bonuses as well for the pre-order of that book. But we're really excited. Thank you for asking about it.
And you are a busy mom. How do you juggle work, family, career, and be your own person? A lot of people, a lot of women especially, are so conflicted because it seems like we're just constantly juggling. And a lot of women have lost themselves, so to speak. Not, of course, when your kids are young, you've got to be there for them, but we go through different phases and stages of our lives. But how do you maintain that, your own identity?
You probably know this better than anyone, Shemane, because you have so much going on and manage to time manage everything with, your kids. But for those who don't know, I have a 1-year-old and a just turned 5-year-old. And I still don't have it all figured out, that's for sure. But I can tell you what helps. What helps is having help. And there's so many different tips that I could give you, but if there's one tip that I can really hammer home today on this interview, it's get help. And oftentimes we come up with excuses as moms not to get help because of the mom guilt, because we're worried about the investment either of time from somebody or of our own money. And I can tell you that your time is worth more than folding socks. Your kids are not going to remember who did their laundry or who made their bed. What they are going to remember is who came to their soccer game, who took them to Taekwondo practice, who was there to help them with their homework. Those are the things and memories that they remember, not those little mundane tasks. And if you look at it as more of an investment into your own survival, really, your own future, your own self-care, versus an expense or something that is just costing you money, it really is a mindset shift that helps you to say, hey, you know what? My time is worth more than $15 an hour. If I spend these next couple hours, which cost me $30 to get some help, but I'm going to be able to make $100 or $200, then it's worth my time. So it's really just a mindset shift, but getting help, not feeling guilty about it, keeping your mom brain in limbo of, oh, I'm working, I should really be with my kids. And then when you're with your kids, oh, I'm with my kids, but I should really be working. You have to get out of that limbo and just focus on what makes you the happiest, what makes your kids the happiest, and what do you see for their futures as well as your own. And how do you want them to remember you? Do you want them to remember you as a mom who was constantly scatterbrained and didn't have any goals of her own? Or do you want them to remember you as a mom who really focused on her goals, took charge, and was there for the important times in their lives? And I have to preface this. I am not saying that only spending time with your kids or being a stay-at-home mom is not the hardest and most important job in the world. That is so important. In fact, I envy moms that do that. And I think that's amazing. Just know what you want, go after it, and don't stay in limbo of, oh, I should really be doing this or I should really be doing that.
Right. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for joining me. Give my best to Ray, and God bless you guys for putting yourselves out there and for bringing Eros into your circle of family and friends. He's a great guy, and I'm so excited to be able to have connected you guys through this show, through just watching Simply Shemane.
Yes, I have to say a huge thank you to you and what you do and just connecting us. Had it not been for you, we wouldn't have been able to save 28 children. So I just am so thankful for you. And for those of you watching, Shemane is exactly as she shows up on the show, meaning she is the most heartfelt, amazing woman. She is so incredible in every way. I know her personally as well, and she's just an amazing human being. So thank you again for what you do.
Oh, now you're going to make me cry. Stop it.
It's true.
All right. Well, thank you again, Jess. Give my best to Ray, and I hope to see you guys soon.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Shemane.
All right. And don't go away. We'll be right back with lots more to come.
Our dogs are like family to us. Honestly, the highlight of my day is being able to spend time with them. No matter what kind of mood I'm in, bad hair, they don't care. And they always make me smile. Except, of course, when they don't feel good. Ruff Greens is 100% natural, highly concentrated nutrition from fruits and vegetables with essential vitamins and minerals, probiotics, no GMOs, added corn, or artificial ingredients. And you know what? My dogs love it. I became a customer before they sponsored this show. If you want your dogs to have better joint health, better digestion, and more energy, add Ruff Greens to their food and keep your furry friends a part of your family for a long, long time. Use promo code Shemane for 10% off any purchase.